My mum was a feisty, ahead of her time, women's lib type woman. So born in the 1930s, but she always wanted to earn her own money and do her own thing and have her own business and all those kinds of things. So my kids adored her. They thought she was a kick-ass granny.
So when she passed away, of course, you had that really sad job that everyone has to go through at some point in their life of clearing away all of her things from her home. Yes. So tell us what you found.
So my mum had a 3-bedroomed house, 2 decent-sized bedrooms, and this little box room that had a single bed and a wardrobe in it. And I found, tucked down the side, these 2 tiny little diaries. A lot of them are mundane, but it's, you start to pick up threads and you start to understand and you read between the lines. And I never knew my mother keep a diary. She was never one that wrote for pleasure, so it was quite a surprise to find that she'd kept them.
Do you think maybe they were left there for your benefit?
They were left there, I believe, because they're a very significant part of her life. The 51 diary opens with her 19th birthday. And at that point, she's very much in love with Fred, her first love. Yeah. And I later uncovered a picture of them in 1947 when they were 15. And she broke up with Fred.
What was it like for you finding all this new information about your mum after she'd passed away?
Well, obviously, I was clearing out the house, so I had a file that had her important documents in it, her CV and her passport and various tax forms and such like. I kind of forgot about them. I only turned them up again last year, which was 13 years later. So I was tidying up a cupboard and I thought, always meant to type them up. So I started, and they're really difficult. So what I would do was take a picture of the page, blow it up, then I'd put them on Twitter and say, can anybody read this? What do you reckon? And I just got the world and its uncle to help me put the stories together.
Were there ever moments that you kind of thought, oh, actually, I do remember Mum mentioning this? And did it tie into things that she'd already told you and it tied in with what she'd written in the diary? Or were the diaries completely, you had never heard any of the stories?
So I'd seen the misty-eyed look in her eyes when she mentioned Fred. So I knew there was a first love called Fred, and I knew they'd been together for some time. The thing that I didn't know was how much she loved my dad, because, when you're a small kid, it's just mum and dad. I always thought I was a rebound baby, so discovering that she did actually love my dad at the time.
Yeah. Do you know why they broke up, your mum and Fred?
The diaries do not make it clear. What I've found out since, we know that in those days, you had to join the army for 18 months or you went to prison. Yeah. That was the law. Fred was conscripted. He thought he was going to be sent to South Korea. And his son tells me, and this is why it's not in the diaries, because it wasn't in the diaries, his son told me recently, Fred's first thought was, I'll put a ring on his finger before I go. But his second thought was, I don't want to leave her sitting at home with a ring on her finger if I'm not coming back. That's just not fair. There were ructions, I think, and we don't know exactly what happened, but there was slappings of faces and Fred walking out, and she sat at home and waited for him to come back. And he didn't, and she just waited and waited. And when he did come back from the war or was home on leave or something, Fred always said, I went to war. When I came back, she was engaged to someone else. And Mum always said, he was the only man that ever dumped me. So she believed she was dumped.
Right.
He believed it was just a fight and she was going to come around.
I mean, sad ending, but at the same time, happy for you, because if that had carried on, you wouldn't be here.
This is true. I would have been somebody different.
Exactly that. Yes. After going through all of these diaries and kind of starting to write the book, what's people's reactions been to the book?
Well, I went back to the wonderful random strangers of Twitter and said, look, I find this fascinating, but it's my mum. I would love some random strangers to read it to let me know what you think. And they all come back and they all said this, that they found it so evocative, so fascinating to hear the era and how people made friends and the social life of young people after the war, just trying to claim a life of their own.
Was there any mention of music in those books?
Loads. My dad was a singer. Hopping on the train to London was very common, and loads of dance halls and loads of cinemas too, just small picture houses all dotted around high streets and such like.
It sounds like this book is going to give us a real insight to that particular era.
I think if anyone's got relations that are in their 80s or 90s and it's on the tip of your memory, those are the people that love it the most, because I've had long emails from people saying I'm 6 months younger or older than your mother and it brings back so much. And I had one message saying I've just read your book my dad gave your dad a bass drum. You know, just this little anecdote on there. And
wow. Yeah. So for all you know, the more people that buy this book, you might get more and more stories fed back to you from things that your mum was involved with.
And people are telling me stories of things my mum weren't involved with, just because people want to share their memories of around that time of what life was like then, where young people are just going out there and grabbing it with both hands. Yeah.
Oh, baby, let's go to the Come on, let's go to the Let's go.